What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is the Mossberg Shockwave. It is a 12 gauge firearm, technically not a shotgun because of the way it's designed, but I usually do just call them shotguns because that's easier to say. But you all know the story on these. We've done several videos with them, and I absolutely love these little street sweeper style shotguns. Well, the other day I went to my local gun shop, and right when I walked through the door, something immediately got my attention. This is the Mossberg Shockwave 590M, and you can probably tell that it looks quite a bit different than the other Shockwave that we have here. So yes, this is a magazine-fed pump action 12 gauge, and with that gigantic box magazine in there, it looks like a whole different animal. Because it is. So with traditional shotguns, the limiting factor is usually capacity because they utilize a magazine tube that goes out this way right underneath the barrel. So you can only go out so far, and it doesn't take much to fill up that tube because shotgun shells are pretty long. Well, with the box magazine, you can go much further vertically than you can horizontally, which obviously means a lot more rounds. And don't worry, YouTube, this is just a 10-round magazine, 5 more rounds than you can get in the regular Shockwave. But they do have 15s and 20 rounders as well, which we'll talk about more a little bit later. Like I said, as soon as I walked into the gun shop, I was freaking hooked, and I knew I had to have this ridiculous looking thing. I have not fired it yet, so as we usually do, we are gonna try it out for the very first time together. Let's go. Very first 10-round magazine. I've never had a single problem with my other Shockwave, so let's see how this one does. Sometimes magazines like this need a break-in period, so let's see if it works. That is awesome. It feels like you're shooting forever. Okay, so looking at the targets, it does look like most of those were going kind of high, which is something I do remember about the other Shockwave I had to hold down at 6 o'clock. But right off the bat, this one feels a lot smoother, and I wonder if that's because there's less going on with the action. There's no shell lifter, and it's just doing less work to get that round into the chamber. I don't know, but either way, that was awesome. Hey guys, before we go any further, I want to thank Aventon e-bikes for sponsoring today's video and give you a little update on our bike over here. Aventon makes high quality e-bikes at very good prices, and they do everything in-house, unlike other companies that assemble parts from different manufacturers. So if you need replacement parts, upgrades, etc., you can do all that through them as well. So one major concern that I had with this thing, being that it is an electric bike, is how would it hold up when it started getting cold outside? Because as you all know, batteries often suffer in really cold temperatures. Well, it's December. As you can see, we have our Christmas tree up, and we've had quite a few cold days, and so far it's doing great. I don't know what their secret is, but we hardly ever charge this thing. I can probably count on one hand the amount of times we've actually plugged it in, and I've had it for like 6 months. So the battery life is absolutely incredible. So if you're looking for an e-bike, I highly recommend Aventon. They're definitely my favorite brand, and they're also the only e-bike company that gives veterans and first responders a discount, which in my opinion is always well deserved. So there will be a link down in the description box below. Definitely go check it out. And again, a big thank you to Aventon e-bikes for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I almost forgot my bandolier, which is a requirement anytime we're shooting street sweepers like this. So one thing I've noticed is when you have a 10-round magazine of 12 gauge shotgun shells, it dramatically increases the weight of the gun, which could be a good or bad thing. I don't mind it. See if we can hip fire it. That is crazy. When I was firing from the hip, I don't think I missed one target that I was aiming at. And I don't do that stuff very often. You guys could probably see it. And it's something about these Shockwaves that make them almost hard to miss with. Even when you're firing from the hip and not using the sights, they just point so naturally. It's almost easier to street sweep with it than it is to shoot like this. So I don't know, that might not be the case for you, but for me, this thing is like a freaking cheat code. And this is where the magic happens on the 590M. If I compare it to the regular Shockwave, you can see the difference and the loading port there. So on a regular shotgun, there is a little shell lifter that comes down when you rack the pump back, and when you pull it forward, that is what guides the round into the chamber. With the 590M, since there's no magazine tube, you do not need that little shell lifter. The bolt just grabs the top round off the magazine and feeds it into the chamber that way. And you can see the magazine conversion kit right there in front of the trigger guard, and the way these magazines rock in is awesome. It's just so easy to do. The magazine release is ambidextrous, which as a lefty, I obviously appreciate. And not only does this increase capacity, it dramatically decreases reloading time because you're not putting rounds in one at a time. You just drop the old mag, put in a new one, and you instantaneously have either 10, 15, or 20 more rounds of 12 gauge. These guns get really hungry, and with a box magazine, you can feed it a lot quicker. The only downside to these magazines that I've seen so far is they are freaking expensive. They're like $120 to $150 a piece. I just bought a 20 rounder and it was 130 bucks. So it hasn't come in yet. When it gets here, I'll show it to you guys, but man, that is a lot of money. They do appear to be really well made, high quality, you know, metal feed lips, all that stuff. But in my opinion, that's too much money for a 10 or a 20 round mag. Literally, as I was telling you guys about that magazine, I got a notification that my 20 round mag will be here tomorrow. So bad timing for the video because we can't use it today. Let's try a clay pigeon with the new Shockwave. This is definitely not your normal sporting clay 12 gauge, but we're not normal, so I want to try it. I also have to try and hit it before it goes up too high so you guys can actually see it. That is so much fun. How about a sporting clay from the hip? This might be pushing it, but we'll give it a shot. Oh! I hit it on the first one, and then I hit it again on the second one, and then I hit it again on the third one. I had a Firebird target on it though, and it didn't go off. Hopefully you guys could see that I did hit it. Well, I did not expect to hit that, so we have to try it again, now that I know I can do it. Yeah! Missed it on the second, got it with the third. I'll take it. So up to this point, we have only fired birdshot through this thing, and one major downside of these little street sweeper shotguns is recoil. Because they're so small and lightweight, you feel that recoil quite a bit more. So next up, we are gonna try some double-aught buckshot and see how this feels. It's gonna kick a lot harder. I'm gonna hip fire this as well because I don't wanna give myself a black eye, and hopefully I can hit the target from back here. Oh yeah. That is a big difference. It's actually so powerful, it's going straight through the trash can and not even moving it, whereas the birdshot was bouncing that thing all over the place. And this is one that I probably would not shoot out of this gun very often, but just for you guys, I'll go ahead and give it a shot. So this is a 12 gauge slug going 1,600 feet per second. So it's gonna kick even harder. See if I can hit that red steel target. Yeah, that's about as rough as it gets for a little Shockwave like this. Whew. Now, one advantage that the regular Shockwave does have over the 590M is that it can take 3-inch 12 gauge shells, which I honestly would not want to shoot very often out of a little gun like this, but the magazine fed version cannot take anything bigger than 2 3/4. However, because it's magazine fed, I want to see if it can run mini shells. So these typically do not work very well in regular shotguns because the tube and the whole mechanism there is set up for 2 3/4. But since this is just a magazine pushing them upward, I want to see if they'll work. Nope. Okay, we got the first one chambered, but it hung up on the way in. Not a good sign. Oh yeah. We're going. It cycled them. So the very first one got hung up going into the chamber, I assume because it's such a long way in, there's more room for it to get crooked and stuff like that. But after the first one, they all cycled absolutely flawless. That's kind of cool. However, I will say with a magazine-fed shotgun, you lose all the benefit of mini shells, which is capacity, because on a regular shotgun, you can stack a lot more of them in the tube since they are so short. Whereas with a magazine, length doesn't matter, it's diameter that matters, and they're the exact same diameter as a regular shotgun shell. But it is kind of cool that this thing can run them. Sort of. All right, guys, I think I've covered just about everything on the Mossberg Shockwave 590M, which means there's only one thing left to do. Make a mess. These two thought they could get away, and I'm not okay with that. All right, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the video on the Mossberg Shockwave 590M. This thing is absolutely awesome, and unfortunately, on its very first day, it already needs cleaned. So if you did like the video, please let me know down in the comments below. As always, if you want more content, channel updates, and stuff like that, you can follow me on Instagram as well. Links for all social media will be down in the description box below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.